back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited. I saved you all the trouble of the get ready with me and just got ready. So cute little skirt with my go-to black cardigan. Then my braids, have a little bit of makeup on. I'm gonna go to Barnes & Noble's. This is another reading slash book vlog. Basically, I'm buying my books for the month of November, and I'm gonna do a book review of all the books that I bought earlier in October. So we're gonna go pick up a few of the sequels or like the next books in the series, and then just a few other books that have been on my TBR. So I'm super excited. Let's go to Barnes & Noble's. Okay, a few Tumblr vibe songs later with some angsty Lana Del Rey, Arctic Monkeys, The Neighborhood, Marina and the Diamonds, you know, that kind of music. And we made it. I got lost. I thought I could get here without a GPS, but I still don't know my way around. So I had to stop for a second because I was really lost and then put the GPS on again. But we made it. Let's go. Okay, I spent more than enough time in there looking for one specific book, only to realize that they did not have it in stock. But I think it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I might just read it on my Kindle. I also wanted to start another series, and I wanted the physical series. It's also on Kindle Unlimited, but they had all the other books except for the first one. So I'm still debating whether or not I should buy that one or not. It'll save me money. Yeah, we're gonna go home. I'm not gonna do the book review today. I'm gonna do the book review tomorrow because I think I'm gonna need to go walk my dog pretty soon. It's getting a little bit dark now. The sun's setting. It looks beautiful. Oh, fall is my favorite season. Fall colors, outfits. Okay, whatever. Book haul. So I spent $113 at Barnes & Noble today, and this is what I got. First book is the sequel to, or not the sequel, it's the second, I guess, installation of the When in Rome kind of storyline. This is, I think, about the sister of what's his face? I don't even remember what his name is. What's his name? Noah. So right, okay. So this is about his sister and Amelia's bodyguard. I got Crown of Midnight and The Assassin's Blade. I know this is like supposed to be the first book, but it's not read. People usually don't read it as the first book. This book has been in my TBR since it came out, and I finally got it. I got it in hardcover. I'm usually not a fan of getting books in hardcover because sometimes the sequel or the second book or the rest of the series is not in hardcover, and I searched everywhere and they only had the hardcover. And then I got this book. I wanted a horror story, like a really good intense horror story, the type that doesn't let you sleep at night. I wanted to just be scared, like terrified. And this looks like an IKEA pamphlet. Like, no, and it gets better. Like you open it and like, I really hope it is a good horror story, because imagine if it is like top tier with this kind of book cover. That is chef's kiss. But yeah, this is my book haul. A Court This Cruel and Lovely is the book that I was looking for, but I think I'm gonna see if it's on Kindle Unlimited. If not, I might just order it on Amazon. And then the other book that I wanted was Pestilence, and that one's also been on my TBR for a while, so I was getting the physical book because I wanted like a physical copy of it, even though it's on Kindle Unlimited. They had all the other 3 books, War, Famine, and whatever, Death. They had all of those, but they did not have Pestilence, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, they had it last time I went, but not this time. And I'm just like, okay. Again, I'm debating if I should just read it on my Kindle Unlimited or buy the physical copy. But yeah, that's all I had to say. I'll go drink my chai tea latte and walk my dog. Hello, I'm back. It's Sunday. We went out last night, surprisingly, for the first time, so that was kind of fun. I have my stack of books that I will be reviewing right here, and I have my iPad with my Notion app right here. I actually created a reading log because last time I was editing my book review, it was just really, really painful to edit. So we're gonna try our best. I'm going to avoid as many spoilers as possible, but just in case, spoilers, because I don't want to spoil something for you. So starting off with our first book is In the Company of Witches. This is a cute little cozy mystery book that is great for for fall season. The synopsis of the book is about a family, 3 witches, basically 2 aunts and their niece, with their uncle that live in this kind of small town place. These 3 witches own a bed and breakfast, and they have a guest that dies there in their bed and breakfast. And so basically they're just trying to uncover the mystery of like how the guest died, especially after they realized that it was actually a murder, right, rather than an accident. And they're trying to uncover who did it, because right now the main suspect is actually one of the aunts, and they're just trying to clear her name basically. The way I had described it in my book review is that it's a perfect mixture of Gilmore Girls and Sabrina the Teenage Witch mashed into one book. This is it. It is one of the coziest fall books I've ever read. It sets you in the mood. So even though I recommend reading this anytime, any season you would like, if you really want a fall book, this is it. This is a really good fall book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because again, it really set the scene for fall. It was just perfect reading it with my pumpkin spice latte.
Yes, I am that pumpkin spice latte girly.
This was actually the last book that we had for my friend's book club until we pick up the book club later in the year. So it was a really good way to end this with this discussion. Really fun. So then the next book that I read for another book club is Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This is definitely a thriller. Personally,
not necessarily my favorite.
It was okay. It was entertaining. It made me really emotional in the sense that I was super upset and angry the whole time, but still not my favorite book. I will give credit where credit is due. I feel like very, very early on, you know what the actual suspense is, what the thriller is. So rather than the thriller portion of this story is not, oh my god, what is going on? It's more, you know what's going on. Basically, the author makes your emotions come out through what the person is experiencing rather than the thrill of trying to figure out what's going on. So I'll give credit where it's due. That was really impressive. That's really hard to do in a thriller, I feel like. I don't like to give people synopsis of thrillers, but since this is a book review, basically just a quick synopsis if you want to know. If not, you can skip ahead. But the synopsis is about the perfect marriage with the perfect couple that looks absolutely perfect and hosts perfect dinners and have the most perfect relationship. Eventually, you find out that their marriage isn't so perfect, and you kind of just follow all of that. Trigger warnings for this book. Definitely there's abuse, there's animal abuse, unfortunately, there's violence. There's just all sorts of types of abuse in this book. So if you're not the type of person to read that kind of stuff, definitely maybe avoid this. Look at its trigger warnings list because they could be triggering. It is a thriller. I believe I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. It was intriguing. You did get sucked in right away. At least for me, it made me really upset at times. Oh my god, the sun's coming out and it's gonna mess up with my lighting. Hold on. It does take time in the past and present kind of situation. The writing and the ending is what saved it because the writing did elicit a lot of emotions out of me. and the ending was so satisfying. So then I read When in Rome by Sarah Adams. A quick synopsis about it. It's about this one famous singer, and she basically just is exhausted with her life. She's burned out. She needs a break. No one really is giving her a chance to take a break. So she ends up deciding, I'm going to go to Rome. She obviously can't go to Italy Rome, which is what I thought this book was going to be about, but instead she goes to Kentucky Rome, and her car breaks down in front of this house. Coincidentally, our main character's love interest, and it was just a cute little rom-com kind of book. It, for me, was not memorable. It's kind of meshed in with all of the other romance books that I read, but in the book's defense, that's exactly what I wanted when I picked it up. I needed a break between serious books so then I can digest things and things wouldn't blend in together, because that's just what happens when you kind of like read too many books at once. So this was like a good buffer. But personally, I probably could have just read this on my Kindle Unlimited. It is one of those books where I don't really care to have a hard copy for it. I bought it, so I guess it's fine. I did, however, give it 3 out of 5 because I was pleasantly surprised to see that it was not an explicit book. I feel like a lot of romance books now have a lot of like explicit scenes, and I'm okay with that actually. Sometimes I want to read something spicy. Sometimes I want to read something dark. Sometimes I want to read something that is completely out of my comfort zone, and I'm just
like, why am I reading this?
And that's fine. But a lot of the times I feel like the explicit erotic scenes in romance books are so out of field. Like, it will be a cutesy romance like this that you don't need a sex scene. You don't need an explicit sex scene at least is what I'm trying to say. But we'll go with one of the most hardcore erotic pieces of smut that I have ever read. This did not have that. It was not explicit at all. It kind of had the whole fade to black effect, and I really appreciated that because it kept the book lighthearted. It kept it fluffy. It kept it nice, and like it flowed really well. But basically my point is, sometimes smutty books are not the best because it just does not follow the plot appropriately. This one was not like that, and I appreciate that, and that's why it has a 3 out of 5. So moving on to my next book, which I think is my favorite book that I read this month, and that is Fourth Wing. What can I say? I gave in into the hype, and I'm glad I did. I am actually really glad I did. I feel like this book can be a little overhyped. I'm sorry if I add more to it, but I really need to talk about this book because it is my favorite book that I read so far this month. So, Fourth Wing. If you live under a rock like me and avoid going on social media, everyone has been talking about it because the second book is coming out in 2 days from when I'm recording, which is Iron Flame. No, I did not pre-order it, even though I really wanted to. A quick synopsis about this book. This is set in a fantasy world. It is a fantasy book. This book is it's supposed to be set in place in like their version of college, and you're able to be a healer, a scribe, or a writer. So our book starts off with our protagonist, our main girl named Violet. She is supposed to be the kind of like runt of the litter and has been training her whole life to be a scribe up until her mother basically forced her to be a writer. But basically she ended up training a little bit to get into the writer quadrant, and the writers, they ride dragons, so they really train super hard basically to learn how to ride dragons. It basically follows her story trying to become a writer in a very cutthroat kind of world. It is an enemies to lovers book, so if you're into that kind of stuff. So now that I got the synopsis out of the way, let me give you my book review really quick. I really enjoyed this book for a few reasons. One, this is my first dragon book I have ever read. I have not read anything that contains a dragon in it. So at least to me, the story seems really unique and original because I have nothing to compare it to. I do want to say this book I feel like it's been described like this before, and I can totally definitely see why. It is a mixture of Divergent and How to Train Your Dragon. I fully agree, but make it spice, make it a little smutty. I feel like the plot itself is super predictable. I am gonna give it a little bit of spoilers here. Hold on, I put it down on my book review. The plot is very predictable. Main character is weak, rises to incomparable power, grows and learns, big battles, and ends in a rebellion. So it is very predictable in that sense. I knew exactly how it was going to end. I really hope that the next installments to the series live up to what this first book was, because I feel like it has a lot of potential. The world building was enough for me, and I feel like you can go more into it in the next books. Hardcore fantasy readers out there, I think a lot of people did not enjoy it, but for someone who has not read fantasy as much, especially like any dragon books, I feel like this is a good kind of introduction without getting overwhelmed and trying to like memorize all of this world building. Something that I really enjoyed from this book, the main character, you were constantly reminded that she was weak, but she was training to become something stronger. She's constantly getting her butt kicked, and that is, I feel like that's realistic, like her actually going through this journey, and that's what I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed her journey of becoming the stronger person to become a writer. It just didn't happen overnight. It happened through the span of the whole book. I'm raving way too much for this book, but I just really enjoyed reading it. I would have enjoyed the enemies to lover plot to be dragged out a little bit more. I feel like there wasn't as much tension, but I enjoyed it. I was mostly there for Violet's journey. So after raving about it, after saying it was my favorite book, I can safely say that this was a 5 out of 5 for me. I don't care what other people think, it was a 5 out of 5 for me. I will not be reading Iron Flame anytime soon though. I'm gonna wait until the third book comes out, because there's always a really bad cliffhanger in the second book. Always. Every book I read. So I at least want to have the other one. My last book that I read this month, outside of Kindle Unlimited and listening to stories, is Throne of Glass. I wanted to give it a try because this book has been on my TBR since it came out. It is the world's best assassin, was captured and thrown into this very intense jail where no one survives, and she ended up surviving a whole year. The captain of the guards goes and picks her up from this jail and takes her to the prince of the country because they want her to be their champion in this tournament that the king is going to be throwing. In return, she works for the king for 4 years and will get her freedom. That's the synopsis of the book. As you can see, my emotions compared to the last book I read are not that high. And again, I think I just had really high expectations after reading that book that I jumped right into another fantasy book hoping it was going to be really good. This I would have enjoyed a lot more when I was 14, 15. I am being really critical of this book. I'm just saying that I did not like the main character at all. Jeez, the main character syndrome in this one is bad. For being the world's best assassin, the amount of times people came into her room while she was sleeping and she had no idea was crazy. The only reason I got the other 2 books in the series is because it is so well loved. I need to give it a chance. I think I was way too critical about it. And again, coming out of Fourth Wing, I expected a lot more. But it actually kept me kind of bored. It had so much potential at the beginning because it acknowledged that she had not been training, had not been doing anything for a year, and she was weak and she was malnourished and she had to work for it again. That made so much sense and I really enjoyed that part of it. But then, I don't know what happened. It's like they forgot that she was an assassin. I have mixed reviews about it. I will continue reading the series because I have heard so many good things about the rest of the books. But at least for now, this book is going to be a 2.5 out of 5. Only because the first part of the book was really good, but everything else just, it was boring. So yeah, that's the end of this video. October list, pretty good in my opinion. I'm excited for November. I am excited to start my first book of November, which is Horror Store. I'm ready to go read. I will see y'all in the next video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye!